Hey, everybody, you're listening to So Many Sequels, your book club for movies. I'm Josh.
I'm Garrett.
And I'm David.
Welcome to the first episode of March. We're kicking off a brand new theme month. We're talking about best screenplays at the Oscars, movies that have been nominated or won for best original, best adapted screenplay, either one. So we've got a whole month of that lined up for you. Today, we're going to be talking about Good Will Hunting, which came out in 1997, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And gave Ben Affleck and Matt Damon their first Oscars for writing this movie. Gave Robin Williams an Oscar for acting in the movie. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Excited to do Good Will Hunting. You guys seen this before?
I have not seen it before.
Okay. No, it's the first time for me as well.
Okay, two first timers. All right. Well, be sure you subscribe to the show. I think I already said that, but again, doesn't hurt to reiterate. SoManySequels.com.
Go do it.
Let's get into it. Let me read the Letterboxd log line here. Oh, I forgot to take out an old movie title. That's all right. Headstrong yet aimless, Will Hunting has a genius-level IQ but chooses to work as a janitor at MIT. Oh, see, in my head I thought it was Harvard the whole time. It was MIT. When he secretly solves highly difficult graduate-level math problems, his talents are discovered by Professor Gerald Lambeau, who decides to help the misguided youth reach his potential. When Will is arrested for attacking a police officer, Professor Lambeau makes a deal to get leniency for him if he gets court-ordered therapy. Eventually, therapist Dr. Sean McGuire helps Will confront the demons that are holding him back. David, what was the box office reception to this movie when it came out? I remember it being a big deal.
Yes, well, I mean, a slow start, but it ended up being a huge movie. It was the year 1997, December 5th. Most people would think of this as a 98 film because that's when it would get a wide release. But it opened December 5th in just 7 theaters to $272,000. So let's jump to that wide release, which was January 9th of 1998. This was just ahead of, it was getting a ton of Oscar buzz at this point and would continue to do so. Opening that particular weekend, it brought in $10.2 million, which was good enough for the number 2 spot. This was a movie that never reached the number 1 spot, despite a lot of the praise and accolades that it would end up getting. Just kind of bad timing, because also out that weekend was Titanic in its 4th week, which brought in 28.7. As good as it gets, the Jack Nicholson film is at number 3 that weekend. Wag the Dog at number 4, and then James Bond: Tomorrow Never Dies at number 5. The movie would go on to make $138.4 million overseas, which is way above studio estimates. They didn't even think it would make more than $50 million. Overseas, it would bring in 87.5 for a worldwide total of $225.9 million. Great news for Robin Williams, who
That's a lot of Duncan.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of Duncan in this movie. And Robin Williams actually had a special deal. He normally, by 1997, Robin Williams commanded about $20 million a movie. But he agreed to do this one for just $5 million, plus 20% of the earnings if it made more than $60 million. Miramax agreed because they thought, no way, it's making more than that.
Damn, that's like a $15 million Oscar.
I know. He raked in some cash.
We
an
talked
award
about a couple of the movies that he did. What was that horror movie that I picked? Final Cut?
1 Hour Photo.
1 Hour Photo.
Cut, that was the other one. But yeah, he kind of just sometimes does those smaller ones because he wants to challenge himself. And maybe at that time, before those people were anybody, he was like, I feel like I could give this a shot.
Generally speaking, Rob Williams had a great eye for movies. He heard about this movie while working with Francis Ford Coppola on Jack. So it kind of shows the duality of the Robin Williams projects. But anyway, the movie would end up being number 7 movie for 1997. Would go on to be nominated for 8 Academy Awards and won 2 of them, including Best Supporting Actor for Robin Williams. And as we'll be discussing this particular month, Best Original Screenplay. We'll be doing other screenplay movies all this month. Do want to just shout out for anybody who wants to see more movies that we covered, whether it's Robin Williams movies or movies from 1997 or just movies from the 90s. You can check them all out here at SoManySequels.com.
Very true. Very true. All right, let's talk about the movie then. I'll say that, like, I'd seen it before, so my expectation, or not my expectations, but my view on it has changed a lot. because I hadn't watched it since Robin died in 2014. So that's a good almost 12 years now, since that happened. And, you do a lot of growing up in that time, and this movie's about a young I don't even think they say his actual age, but he can't be more than 20 or so, because he's working in a college. But it really hit me this time because with more life experience, you really hone in on seeing what Robin's character sees in Matt Damon, in Will. This whole holding himself back as a means to, like, think that he's protecting himself, but he's really just hurting himself further. You can see I don't know, I felt like I could see that a lot better this time. Um,
hmm
it landed with me a lot harder, so that's what I would say really if kinda changed in my reaction to it this time. But, what did you think about it, Garrett, being your first time watching it? And what did you kinda know about it going in? Did you have any preconceived notions?
I feel like as I'm sitting here, most of the things that I knew were like, oh my goodness, this movie's so good, it'll launch your careers, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. But let me tell you, I didn't know nothing about nothing because I straight up thought I knew that Matt Damon was good at math. I knew
Yeah.
that. And then I thought that Robin Williams was the teacher who was taking him under his wing. I
Mm.
didn't really think that he was the therapist. I thought he was also a mathematician who was kind of like pushing him to really go to his full potential. So, what my expectations were and what we got was a little bit different.
Yeah.
David, what about you? This was your first time too, right?
It was my first time, but it is a movie that has, I think, speaking to the power of the screenplay, has become very, very referenced in a lot of our culture. We've talked about movies like that many times before that just sort of pervade out into pop culture. We don't live in a world that has so much monoculture anymore, but so many of the lines, the one-liners, how you like them apples, it's not your fault, it's not your fault. That whole sequence, stuff that I've seen done reference. I've seen clips of it in movie clips, countdowns and things like that. So I knew a lot about the movie, and I kind of had a pretty good idea of the vague plot structure, but never actually got to sit down and watch it scene by scene by scene and see how it all stacks up together. So, but I mean, I was really taken in, and I think learning even kind of more of the background about the movie was very interesting as well because I think um, there's certain myths about the movie that have come about over time and things like that. So it's kind of interesting to go back and view those aspects of kind of how it got made, um, because it is celebrated as this thing that's sort of these two young kids from Boston who just wanted to get into Hollywood put together, and so there's that. But overall, like I kind of put this in my letterbox review of it is I could just watch Matt Damon and Robin Williams go back and forth for hours. Like they could cut out a lot of the stuff in between and just do more scenes of Robin Williams trying to provide therapy to Matt Damon, and I think I could just keep watching that.
I could too. I wanna say, about Robin's performance, it was obviously since he won the Oscar, it was fantastic, but I really felt a lot of his emotions, like, when I'm watching it, I'm catching myself going, "No, don't let him trigger you like this, Robin, no, he's doing this on purpose, don't grab him by the neck." But, like, a younger version of me would have been like, "Whoop his ass."
No,
So Robin, yeah, he's very tender,
yeah.
because you could see how not easily he's hurt, but how quickly Will finds his, like, I don't know, his soft spot and
Mhm.
just attacks it relentlessly, and it gets to him very fast.
Yeah, and I think that, it's sort of setting you up. It's setting you up in a way to think, oh, Robin is going to be the master at counterpunching. And I think really it's just that the first couple interactions that Robin Williams' character and Matt Damon's character have, Will and Sean have, is Robin surviving the initial onslaught, Sean surviving, and then not relenting, just saying like, "Oh no, I'll see you next week." Like, I know I almost choked you out just then, but I will see you
Yeah.
next week, you
Yeah.
know? And that's something that Will wasn't really prepared for because he's had such an easy time scaring away
Everybody's
everybody
given up
else.
on him his
Right.
entire
Mhm.
life. Yeah.
And so he just sets him up, I said, what is it? Self-fulfilled prophecy or whatever, where you just are such
Correct.
a jerk up
Correct.
front because you believe that nobody's going to want to be there or love you or, because, and so you just cut, cut, cut.
Yeah.
And then, oh yeah, well, yeah, of course, they don't like me.
Mhm.
Right. Right.
The chemistry
Yeah.
there, I agree, is incredible between Damon and Williams. I think there's a lot of moments that has a lot of chemistry. Again, for my first time seeing this, there are moments that are just so good, and then there are moments that are kind of misses, and I feel like I was a little caught off guard by some of those moments. And then the moments that were really, really good, it's kind of like the potential that you see in Will. It's like you can see what this thing could have been if it wasn't like written by a couple of first time kids.
Sure. Yeah. 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 I feel like I see a lot of that in the scenes with Will's friends
Yeah.
more.
Yes.
Um,
100%.
I think, and I don't even mean like they're crude, and that's part like I don't even mean that because of course they would be. That's the whole point of their characters. But it mostly seems like those scenes don't always add something.
Yeah.
The Affleck's best scene is when he tells Will that every day he hopes that he'll show up and he'll be gone because it means he went and did something better with his life. That's when you really see like, oh yeah, he is. Uh, I don't know. It's like he doesn't really belong in that group, but he insists that he does
Mhm.
because he did a long time ago or something like that. But much of that I don't feel like is clear in the scenes. It seems like most of the friend scenes are just like Casey Affleck saying something that annoys me.
Which is just kind of life.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, the scenes I mean, that certainly seems like the most immature. And again, you would think that as that is they are the most immature characters, but I don't really think that the other side characters added much. I feel like there were a lot of moments where they invested in extra characters like that, where they could have really gotten a little bit more out of the connection or something. One of my takeaways is and correct me if I'm wrong, boys, but I feel like going through the therapy sessions with Sean and Will, I feel like Sean got more out of it until the very end than Will. Like
Oh,
he found somebody that was like there for him and finally at the very end was able, but I don't feel like we really learned much about Will and his like his past other than they glanced over it really quickly that he was an orphan and has dealt with physical abuse and stuff, but we
Mhm.
never really learned much
yeah,
about him, and he's the central character. We learned so much about Sean and his past, but I don't feel like we got that same depth
yeah.
from the main character. That seemed like it was like glazed over with the idea of depth.
No, I think that Garrett, if I could, I'm gonna to agree with you. If I have one complaint about this movie is even when it's over, I feel like it's still keeping some secrets from me for some reason, like the secrets that it doesn't. I like it's kind of a hard thing to really articulate, but it just kind of finishes in like, oh, I feel like there was so much more meat on the bone they could have really gotten to.
Yeah,
And I think for sure, like there's probably a friend or an extra character too many along the way. Um, and it feels like it has this balancing act of this kid's living four lives. Matt Damon, he's living these the moments in therapy, the moments with Stellan Skarsgård, who's also very good in this with his teacher there.
right.
The situation with this girl he likes, played by Minnie Driver, who also very good, and then his old friends, and so like you have these four different worlds that he's moving around in, and two of them feel very strong, and one of them feels good, and then one of them is just kind of like yeah, it's like these scenes aren't overall contributing enough to keep this thing going, and then they could yeah, I mean, I don't know, is that am I correct? It won the screenplay award, so I mean maybe I'm wrong.
Here we are. Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing because I have a couple other thoughts in my head where I'm like, I wanted to I had to lightly tease the scene with Stellan Skarsgård where he goes into the classroom and the whole point is that the mystery magician is going to reveal himself, and so the class is full. I was like, oh, these boys have never been in a college class, have they? I don't even think at MIT they would behave this way, where he's talking damn near Shakespearean.
Yeah.
Just to the class, like, it seems we. Oh shit! I just dropped my. Clip that. I just got attacked by my light. Yeah, he's just like acting like the drama teacher. I feel like, which I just don't know that I buy that. That's the vibe at MIT.
I don't think he would be that eloquent with words. I don't know. I don't want to judge. I certainly don't.
I don't either. I just was like, this seems silly to me.
And I will also say Skarsgård was creepy.
Oh, he was
so
creepy.
Don't like it was.
I don't know how much was meant to be creepy. I don't know if he was meant to be creepy, because there was a line with Skylar on the phone where she was like, "Is this you?" And then you know what I'm talking about? That was him, right? That she was referring to?
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about right after.
Oh my God. Okay. There's a scene where Skylar gets a phone call. It's a very small scene. And she picks up the phone call, and it's Matt Damon, but he doesn't say anything. And she's like, Professor blah, blah, blah. And I think she means him, and still no answer. And she hangs up, and he goes, creep. And then the scene changes. And I was like, oh, there's a very small implication that he stalks her.
Listen, it was peppered throughout the movie.
Right.
There was another scene in the waiting room where he was talking about some kind of thing, and he was like, it's very erotic. And the woman was like, wow. And then in the bar or at the classroom where he's like, friends, it's Saturday. Go home unless you want to have a drink with me, student. Yeah. No.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that going on. You know, I think that there's a lot of, I mean, honestly, it kind of predates the heavier overanalyzation period that we're in now with masculinity.
Sure.
But we've discussed it many times on this podcast, and you go back to this era, and you do get a couple of different presentations of masculinity in 1997. You have the character, Stellan Skarsgård's character. You have Robin Williams, and you have Matt Damon and his friends, and how they present themselves, and how they, sort of build themselves up in the world. And obviously, some of this is cultural. Some of this is, a little bit Northeastern as well. I mean, it's a very
South
heavy Boston
is Southeast.
Yeah, the tough guys. They got to go to roll to Harvard.
And Duncan.
So there was a
Duncan cameo
elements there too, but you got
it's part of Ben's thing.
I think that juxtaposition of all these things really helps to explore a lot of different approaches and ideas and ways that men and young men deal with their trauma and emotion.
I totally agree, because what I like about this is they never really confront it as masculinity by definition. The main scene where they really dig into it is between Sean and Will, where they're talking about what is honorable in a job. And like, that's clearly masculinity coded, but they don't have to say it. He just says, he's talking about, is it not honorable to be a mechanic, to fix people's things? He's like, of course it's honorable, but you're still missing the point.
Yeah, is that really what you want to do, though?
Right. Is it because Will seems to believe it would be dishonorable to not do what he's doing. He's missing the good he could do with his wicked smarts. Yeah,
well, like that he would leave his sort of friends behind in these honorable jobs to go do something that, from the perspective of maybe an average blue collar guy, is like, who even cares? Like, who even cares if he's working, cracking codes for some, large hedge firm or something, you know what I mean? Like, or if he's doing numbers for NASA, like, it's like, who cares about that when, these buildings need to be torn down and these buildings need to be built. Like, that's the stuff that matters more. And, like, he thinks that he's going to get judged for leaving them behind. Almost, I think.
He's a working class guy going into a white collar kind of world. I also feel like I want to judge a little bit more of Skarsgård because they're all looking for who solved this problem. And then you see somebody writing on the thing that you don't know, and your first reaction is, who are you? Go away, and not, hey, are you the one who just solved that problem? Wait a minute, let me talk to you.
I had the same.
Coming out hot, bro.
There's a little bit of classism there.
Thing. I get that, but still.
It made me think though, and I had to pull it up and watch it afterward today. But Garrett, or you might remember this too, David. Do you remember the episode of Community based around Good
Oh,
Will
yes,
Hunting
the
where
plumbing in the toilet one?
yes,
Yes,
I
absolutely.
rewatched it and it's like the inverse cuz he's like I don't I don't want to fix stuff. I just want to learn. And they're like, "But you're so good at fixing stuff." And they recreate several scenes throughout the
They do.
episode. It was very funny.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I'll have to go back 'cause
yeah.
that also popped into my head.
But it you need to watch it because it's almost beat for beat. They chase Troy down the hall and everything.
Love that show, 5
Yeah,
stars.
yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. I
Um,
also wanna explore the relationship with him and Skylar because I do feel like that was again, I think, David, you said that was good, and I do feel like that was a good
Mhm.
dynamic and relationship. I really liked their introduction. Let me tell you, whoever played that Clark guy, awful hair. Really just truly, I hope it was a wig, and I hope it wasn't a life choice. That's
I
where I
know,
land.
I hope so too. And
Yeah.
also, this I did try to confirm, and it did not originate, but this did popularize "How do you like them apples?" as a
That's great.
saying.
Yeah,
Love that.
it feels like something that was going around the
Yeah.
Northeast for a while.
It was
I
an
f
old saying from, like, World War II era, I think is what I read, but nobody really said it anymore, and then they put it in the movie, and then it became popular.
Yeah.
Feels like something one of their dads probably said a lot,
Yeah,
or
yeah. 'Cause
uncles.
watching it, I thought, "Oh, that seemed kinda anticlimactic of sorts," 'cause
I don't
it's so corny when he says it, but it works so well. He's
I
like,
don't even really
you
know
like
what
apples?"
I still don't even really know what it means.
It doesn't mean anything.
You know? How do you like them apples?
It's
It's like,
kind of it's
"Huh?"
a I feel like it's the same category of, like, you want a knuckle sandwich, and then it turns out it's a punch.
Yeah.
It's not something you want at all.
Going
But
back
yeah,
to the relationship,
Skylar
though,
though.
I feel
Yes.
like that very first introduction, if you go back and watch it, it really sets up the entire movie because he stepped in for his friends to defend them, make them look small, kind of handle the situation with the confidence and the swagger that he knew he had. But then he stopped. He didn't continue to talk to the girl, and I know that he may not have cared at the time because Ben Affleck was going over there to try to make a move and whatever. But uh, her coming up to him and being like, I've been sitting over there all day and you've just been sitting, not willing to take that next step and come over and
Mhm.
talk to me. And now I'm tired. Like, I feel like that was such a good kind of coded way to show what Will is by introducing her that way with the confidence that she had by pointing out his lack of initiative.
No, and honestly, I think from a writing I've never written a screenplay. What little writing I've done has remained here at the house. But I think that from a balance standpoint, you have this situation where he's talking to his therapist, and the therapist is trying to get stuff out of him. And then you have Skylar, who's also trying to get stuff out of him, but the approach of a romantic relationship versus a professional relationship and how those two conversations kind of both are, both trying to pull him to come to let himself out.
Right.
It allows you to have a really balanced way of exploring, like getting Will Hunting to open up. And eventually they both kind of push him to the point of exploding. But it's just a different way to explore those two concepts of trying to get to know someone.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I thought they also just had a really good chemistry,
Mhm.
Matt and Minnie Driver in this.
But yeah,
They I don't know, it worked. So, typically I think I'd be like, "Ah." I might roll my eyes at an ending where he just, like, picks up and goes and chases the girl.
Mhm.
But in this time, it was a
it
lot
was the
more
right
than
choice.
that. It was a lot more than just choosing the girl. He was
Right.
choosing to leave his comfort zone. He was choosing to go to California completely across the country, um,
He was
to go with
choosing
her for this,
It's
opportunity
taking a
she's on.
risk.
It's taking a
and,
risk. He
and
can reinvent himself.
Yeah.
going back even to what Robin or what Sean was saying, you can tell me all of these things that you've read, but you've never done. This is
Mhm.
his chance to finally do.
Yes.
To live.
That was
Yeah.
To
another
not just
great
know, but to
yeah.
not just to learn, but to experience,
Hmm.
and so, um, really, like, honestly, it is a part that I really do appreciate. I read that there were multiple different endings. Obviously, we haven't talked about this, but this script was not just like, oh, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck sat down and they wrote exactly this script.
Yeah.
This was a script that
No, they
developed
wrote
over the
it for
course of
years.
several years. Had very different versions of it in the past. At one point, it was a complete spy thriller, and then I believe the only thing that survived that was the scene where he interviews with the NSA. That's
Oh,
the
It's a
only
great
scene.
how
scene.
could this
It's a
be a
g
spy thriller? Go away.
The ending had various things. The ending, there was a version of it where Will dies. There was a version of it where Ben Affleck's character dies, and that's a motivator for him to start taking a risk. But they didn't end up liking either of those. And then there was a version. The original ending they had for a long time was um, just kind of him and Skylar decided to go together, and they get on the plane together, and they leave, and you watch them leave together like that.
Oh,
And
lame.
then they eventually, I can't remember whose idea I read it was, but eventually they came around to this ending where it's a little bit more open ended. He leaves the message for Sean. Um, Famously, Matt has talked about this many times that the last line of the movie is a Robin Williams improv where they did what was written in the script is they put the note, he puts the note in the mailbox. Robin comes out, he reads it, the camera just holds on him as he kind of takes a beat and takes that moment in and then goes inside and closes the door. They said that Matt said, now he could be exaggerating, that they did 60 takes and Robin came out and said a different thing every time. But the one that they knew was going to be the ending was when he came out and said, son of a bitch, stole my line. And
Yeah.
he said that he was watching on the monitor next to the director, Gus Van Sant, and he's like shaking him, like, that's the line. That's it.
Yeah.
That's,
That's a good
that's the
line.
ending. And it's a
We're
really good ending for the movie.
Yeah, it is. I believe it. One of the interviews I saw with Matt Damon, he was talking about working with Robin, and he said that Robin was truly the nicest guy on earth, but also would get completely lost in acting. And he was like, when he grabbed my, like he said, we filmed the neck grabbing scene a few times, and I had to ask him to not grab me so hard at a certain point because my veins were starting to show up on my neck. And he said he was immediately like extremely apologetic, and it was like, yeah, of course. He was like, he has no idea. He just goes hard. So like those
Yeah.
were real emotions. He doesn't hold back.
No, Robin is
Robin was a special breed.
he fully commits and not in like not in a malicious way, but like he's living the moment. Like as it's he whatever he has to do, he studies the scene. He might improvise in the scene if you let him, but like he lives it. He's totally in that moment.
Yeah,
I
I
would
agree.
like to zoom out as we are looking at the screenplay category this month for Oscars. Talk about some of the movies this was nominated in the same category with. It won the category. This was the best original screenplay for the 1998, if I remember correctly.
19 Yes, there's been the 70th Academy
Yes,
Awards held March 23rd, 1998. March 23rd. Good grief, we're waiting just for March like 9th at
I know.
this point.
It went up against As Good as It Gets, Boogie Nights, Deconstructing Harry, and The Full Monty. Have you guys seen any of those?
No.
I
I
haven't
don't
either.
think I have.
I know what As Good as It Gets is. I
Yeah.
hear incredible things about Boogie Nights. No idea what Deconstructing Harry is, and I know what The Full Monty is, but I haven't seen it.
hmm Yeah, Deconstructing Harry uh, is a Woody Allen film.
Yeah.
And then Boogie
Yeah.
Nights, Paul Thomas Anderson.
And I'm
Um,
intrigued by Boogie Nights because I feel like I hear a lot of people talk about that as
a lot of
something that
people love
so
Boogie
could have
Nights.
won. So I'm very intrigued as to how that would stack up. I wish one of us had seen something to go that it would have gone against. Um,
Yeah,
but I just know that I hear a lot of people talk about Boogie Nights to this day, even more so. Well, no, Good Will Hunting still wins, but that's
yeah.
pretty close. I got.
I think you run this 10 times. I think Goodwill Hunting probably wins 10 out of 10. It had the story, like it had the outside story going for it, as well as it is a really decent screenplay. Maybe one of these other ones wins in another world, but you look at this film versus the other films that were the big winners that year, Titanic, um, LA Confidential. These were the other big winners in a lot of respects of that year. It persists. When I pulled up, the most popular movies of 1997 on Letterboxd, Goodwill Hunting's number one in terms of film popularity on Letterboxd. So,
Yeah.
like this movie persists and will continue to persist. It's an all timer. in that
Yeah.
regard. So I think they got it right. I having not seen any of the other movies, I think
Sure.
they got it right.
Fair.
All right. Well, I think that's a good a place as any to do our final rating and review for Good Will Hunting. Um, First takers.
I think that for the first time where I had no idea what was going on, and I think I think that this execution and delivery is almost exactly like Will Hunting, where there is such a good core and there's so much potential that these kids have that just, they're so close. 4 stars for me.
I will bump it a little bit. I really enjoyed this first time. It is my type of movie. It's a dialogue and performance based movie. Like those two things both come together really well. I did mention earlier that if I have a complaint, it does feel like there's a little bit more meat that I feel like they could have gone after. So I'm gonna give it a 4.5, but like an enthusiastic 4.5.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna also live at 4.5 for this movie. Really enjoyed it, revisiting it after so many years. I think the performances, more than anything, hold up so well. Um, so I would definitely watch it again. Probably, hopefully, maybe with less of a gap in between
Yeah.
viewings. So yeah, that's what I'd say. Okay, let's go through some of the most popular letterbox reviews as we think about what that community has rated this movie. First review here is 4.5 stars. Imagine how insufferable Will Hunting would have been if he'd been played by Jesse Eisenberg. I agree. That would have been a lot worse. 4.5 stars. Robin Williams is a warm hug in human form, and I miss him every day. I
Mhm.
agree with that.
I hope you read my favorite one that Nikki read me.
I have no idea if I will be able to or not. We'll see. 4.5 stars. Math Damon. That's a
That's
really
it.
good. Oh, perfect.
Math
Love Math
Damon.
Damon. Okay, 2 more. 4 stars. Robin Williams guiding white boys is my new favorite cinematic universe. And finally, 5 stars. Will never be able to wrap my head around the fact that Matt Damon and Ben Affleck wrote this screenplay. They literally look like they have one brain cell between the two of them. That one's mean, but has 40,000 likes. What can you do?
Oh my God.
What do we think?
Who's up, David?
Who's up?
Oh yeah. Hang
I'm on the
we-
board
we're-
now, but I think it's still me, right?
Well,
Or did
we're all we are
I'm
dead
here.
even.
Okay.
Actually, no, I'm just kidding. Garrett is in the lead by 1 point. So yeah, Josh, you won the most recent one with Spinal Tap.
Okay.
So I guess that means I go first.
All right.
And I will guess it's a 4.1.
It's a good one. I had this in my head before you said that, so I'm gonna say it anyway. I'm gonna guess 4.3.
Ooh,
Well, poop. I don't think it's less than 4, and I don't think it's 4. So we've got what, a 4.1 and a 4.3. I'll go 4.2. Fine. I'll feel
4.2?
goal
Alright.
right between.
right.
Okay, we had what'd you say, David, again?
I said 4.2.
4.2. I said 4.3.
Or no, I'm sorry. I
No,
said 4.1.
4.1,
I said
4.3,
4.1.
4.2. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
We totally lined up. We have no direct hits today.
Oh,
Bummer. Bummer, I know. And I'm surprised. It's actually higher. It's 4.4 is the correct answer. So I'm gonna take that being the closest. But yeah,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. No, you got it.
That's impressive.
So
it's very
that
high.
ties you and Garrett up at 3, and then I'm at 2. So I mean,
Gosh,
still it's
at the top of the leaderboard.
It's February.
still neck and neck right now. But we had a string. We've all had a direct hit so far this year, so that's really exciting.
Perfect. All right. Well, that will do it for us. And for Good Will Hunting, we have more best screenplay, not just original, but adapted to best screenplay movies coming up this month. So be sure you subscribe at SoManySequels.com. You can find videos on YouTube and on Spotify and podcasts everywhere else. SoManySequels.com.